And you said Jayson Oweh there at the end. At
Oh,
the beginning
Patrick.
you said Patrick Oweh.
You're right. I don't know why I said that. Sorry, I am blonde and I didn't play football. So, again, sorry to Jayson Oweh.
If they do end up taking Patrick Oweh, they'll be like, wow, one person called that. It was Chris.
We never would have saw this. Only Sims had this one.
All right.
Oh, yeah, that's right. We're back. It's Monday. Monday after the NFL draft. It was a good one as always. And more importantly, I mean, hey, the NFL draft, you know we're going to hit on that. We'll hit on Trey Lance and Shanahan with the Mac Jones and everything. But damn, did you look good at the Kentucky Derby. Ooh, you looked handsome in that blue suit with that nice little blue tie you had on.
And someone told me what color blue that was.
Right.
And I can't remember now. I think it was like, I can't remember.
Yeah.
Because I was like, this is blue. And they're like, well, it's not quite blue. It's like this weird kind of blue. And I was like, you're right, but it's blue to me. But
cool.
Yeah, it was cool. It was awesome. Being at the Kentucky Derby, there were not 160,000 people there.
Yeah, right.
But there were a lot. I mean, we're talking like 50,000 people.
It looked good on TV. It really did.
And Bob Baffert wins again.
Unreal. How did that horse look in person? Like, what's it look like? What's it see like a Kentucky Derby horse in person? Are they skinnier,
Some are skinnier, some are giant.
Okay.
Like there's one that was big, and I was like, well, that seems like a good thing, right?
Yeah.
It seems like a legs and ass guy.
Right.
It's like this is the biggest horse in the biggest field. You got 19 other horses, but they're like, don't bet on him. He's not that fast. But Medina Spirit, after the race, I had so many people come up to me and they were like, I saw that horse 10 minutes before the race. He looked awesome. And I was like, why didn't you tell anyone else? So,
well, what makes a horse look awesome 10 minutes before a race?
One, the way he's acting.
Okay.
Is like move. Some are fidgety
calm
and like
and
a little,
just cool,
like on their hind legs maybe.
Right.
So he was calm, not sweating.
Yeah.
If you're not sweating too much, you're like, okay, that's good.
Right.
But outside of that, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Has
Smile on his face.
Has he lost yet? He's undefeated, or
No, he had. His last race was bad, which is why people were like, all right, well, he's not that good.
Gotcha.
And so then Baffert was just sandbagging. He was like, be bad. Your odds will be 9-1 instead of 5-2, and then I'll win some money. So it was great. I saw Bob Baffert afterwards.
Yeah, that's cool, man.
Hobnobbing. Because when you're around Mike Tirico, it's like all the stars end up gravitating towards you.
Right.
It's like I'm there, like here comes Bob Baffert over. And then, like, you know who else was there? Warren Moon was there. Warren Moon comes over. I'm just like, I'm going to hang around Mike a little bit more.
Cool,
So,
Mike's big time.
it was fun, but I was watching the NFL draft while we were doing it. You heard at the beginning there, we called
Jayson
Oweh Patrick Oweh.
And now he's changed it up on us again.
Come to find out, you were right in not referring to him as Jayson because that's not even his real first name. Jason's his middle name. His first name is Odafe.
Odafe, I thought, but maybe it's I think it's Odafe.
Odafe. Okay.
Yes,
all right.
yes.
All right. So he goes, yeah. Odafe.
Odafe.
Repeats now, and now we're panicking because he goes, the reason I did this is because no one can say my first name. He goes, now you're going to have to learn how to pronounce it. So clearly we have some work to do.
We have some work to do.
Because we just threw out 3 different ways of saying it. But so that's all cleared up now. We do want to talk about the draft.
Yep.
Because there was so much that happened. You did release a podcast on Friday with Mike.
I did, yep.
Going over the first round.
Yes.
But now we're going to get into which teams killed it, which teams, which players went to great situations. Go through all of this because now we have it. Now we have what happened in the NFL draft. But let's start, Chris. Let's just get right into it. The biggest story was the number 3 pick.
Yep.
And for this one, we're going to have to bust some narratives.
Some narratives. I wasn't, first off, just so we know, I wasn't trying to be like Bob Baffert and sandbag the whole draft world.
Okay, well, that's going to be one of the narratives
okay,
here.
fine,
Kristen, do we have the music? This is where we
That's
wrap.
right. I wasn't sure either. That's why I started
Kristen,
talking.
Do we have it?
I mean, geez, Kristen, can you press play? I mean, geez.
See, we're already in a feisty mood.
Press play.
This
Geez,
morning,
Kristen.
Chris Sims is the guy you have trust in, but it ain't just rhymes that he's busting. Every single year it's imperative that we go ahead and bust your damn narrative.
Be rabbit.
Kristen was probably like, I don't like that song.
I don't want to play
that. So maybe if I just pretend like it's not
I'm
working.
allergic to pressing play on that song.
I don't want to do it, actually. I'm saving everyone. All right, so let's bust the narrative.
Let's do it.
So, if you don't know by now, Trey Lance went number 3. We had been talking about Mac Jones going number 3 all along. My first question is, is, are you friends with Kyle Shanahan? Can we confirm that that's happened? Or maybe that friendship is now over?
No, I'm still friends with him. I am. And listen, I was as shocked as anybody.
Yeah.
I really was. I wasn't trying to do my friend a solid and keep everybody off, Trey Lance. No, I was not. First off, listen, Mac Jones was always my number 3 quarterback. My logic of Mac Jones, of course, was somewhat based around my own studies and the logic of why I think you would trade up to number 3. But then, as I always said, I never had a moment where it was like Kyle Shanahan told me and went, we're taking Mac Jones at 3. I've told everybody that. First off, I'm not a bull. I think you know that by now, right? So yes, through my knowledge of my friend, knowing what he likes at quarterback, everything like that, I certainly thought he was going to take Mac Jones. And I think that for a time, I still believe in my heart of hearts that that was the guy. I do. But somewhere along the lines or somewhere along the journey there, it definitely changed.
So that is one of the narratives,
right,
is that you knew that the 49ers were going to take Trey Lance.
I did not.
But hyped up Mac Jones as some smokescreen for your friend Kyle Shanahan.
No.
That one we've busted.
No. I knew he liked Trey Lance. I knew he was very intrigued by him. Mm-hmm. But I always thought, and again, my conversations with him about the quarterback position happened so long ago. It didn't matter anything. But yes, I thought just from my conversations back in January talking about the quarterbacks,
yep,
that I got the feel then that it was Mac Jones and Trey Lance. That was the feel I got. So,
and it's not just you. Multiple reporting that Kyle Shanahan was high on Mac Jones.
Sure.
49ers, that the Patriots were high on Mac Jones.
Sure.
That Sean Payton and the Saints were high on Mac Jones.
Yeah.
And maybe there were other teams as
right,
well that were very high on Mac Jones.
Yeah.
And so there would be reason that if you were one of those teams that were high on Mac Jones, to think that you had to trade up for him at some point, because you're hearing, oh, there's a lot of teams that like this guy. And why wouldn't they like this guy? Here's Peter King talked to Kyle Shanahan.
Right.
And Kristen, do we have the quote for it? So Peter basically asked him, what do you think about those Mac Jones rumors that you were inevitably going to take him? And Kyle said this: we weren't going to work to correct that. So he's talking about those rumors out there that turned out, I guess, to be not true. But to see how much this matters to so many people was just unbelievable. It really taught me a lot about people, and I guess it's awesome for our league, all the attention. So he's kind of insinuating that he didn't want to correct those false rumors out there that they were leaning towards Mac Jones.
Right.
So, and part of it is you want to send a message to Trey Lance, you were the guy. We never had any doubts, right?
Sure,
so I get part of that is it.
Yeah.
But I guess there's no benefit into saying, yeah, we were on Mac Jones, and then we got scared and changed our mind.
No, there is no benefit of that. There's no reason to say that. And again, whatever you're studying the process and who you're going to take until the very end. I'm sure there was lots of guys on different boards who got switched or tweaked in the last week, 10 days or whatever at certain positions, everything there. He's not worried about the narrative that was out there. Obviously, though, within that quote, he realizes how passionate and at least what was being said out there.
49er fans,
right?
Very few wanted Mac Jones.
Right.
Do you think that shook him a little bit?
Well, I don't know if I'm not going to say it shook him. I'm not going to say that, but I think that quote to me tells you they were very aware of the backlash of Mac Jones. That's what I think he's talking about. The passion our fans have. He means our fans hated the Mac Jones pick and would have been fine with Trey Lance or Justin Fields. They obviously know. They know the temperature of the room.
Yeah.
So that for sure, yes. Again, I don't think that swayed it in any way. But I don't know. I don't want to say too much here without you got another question to answer, because I'm going to just keep rattling it off and keep going. Do you want me to bust any other narratives here?
Yeah.
Yes?
Keep that in mind, whatever you were about to say there.
Okay.
But here's a narrative, too.
Right.
Is that the 49ers always needed to trade up to number 3 to get Trey Lance.
Well, I'll bust that narrative for sure. No, so that to me is where this is going to be put under a microscope eventually, because I think that's what people in league circles are already talking about, but the media is still talking about it was Trey Lance and not Mac Jones.
Yeah.
And they haven't quite got onto that yet. But I know there was, chatter in the league of this weekend of, did the 49ers really need to trade up to number 3? I've heard from enough people to know that, within the NFL community that Trey Lance's agent, Jimmy Sexton, was calling around, before the draft to teams because he wasn't sure if he didn't know the 49ers were picking him at 3 at that point, and he wasn't sure who was going to pick him, right?
And that can happen to quarterbacks,
so
right?
that can happen,
no doubt about it. Only a few available destinations,
right?
right?
So he was obviously worried a little bit, going like, wait, my guy, I don't really have a spot for him right now if they pass him at 3. So there at base level, it makes you think, yes, he would have been there at 12. I don't know if he would have been there at 12. Again, them trading to number 3 changed the circumstances too, right? So maybe if they went to 3, because it affected Carolina, right? Maybe that affected Carolina at number 8, where they had their eye on, Mac Jones. But then they went, ooh, maybe they listened to idiots like me and everything and went, ooh, well, maybe he is on Mac Jones, so let me make a move to get Sam Darnold.
Yeah, do you think Carolina or Denver would have ended up with Mac Jones if they didn't feel like the 49ers were trading up to get him? Do you think that they made their moves thinking like, okay, we got to get Sam Darnold because Mac Jones is going to be gone?
I think Carolina did. That I feel confident in. Denver, I don't know so much about. Yeah. I don't know. I'm not quite sure what Denver's thought process was at the quarterback position. I had always been led to believe, kind of what I've been saying all along, that they want to bring somebody in there just to compete with him. I know there was the rumors of them wanting to draft a quarterback, but I always thought during the draft that I was kind of taking that as like, this is just one of those teams that's saying we like a quarterback, hoping some team might want to trade up to number 9 and do that, right?
Yeah.
That's at least what I took it as. So I think the Panthers are the one to watch out for sure.
Okay.
But I think that's going to continue to be, as we get into this conversation, and it's, Trey Lance and Fields and Mac Jones are always going to be compared to each other and all those type of stuff, and the wins and losses and stats are all going to be dependent on that. But I think that is one thing that people are going to look at as we go further, and especially if Lance doesn't do well, people are going to go, and we traded away 3 first-round picks, and we didn't have to do that.
Yeah.
And again, maybe that's the other thing I could say is if I look at the process to where I would just go, end of March, making that trade right then. And again, it seems like maybe a little undecided about who they wanted to take. Why not just sit back and kind of read the tea leaves a little bit and get a feel for the draft? And then maybe if you just stay at 12 and then, okay, now you got a feel, and maybe you only had to trade up to number 7 or 8 as you get closer to the draft, as you get this feel for it. I think that's the thing that's going to be dissected as we go along.
That's always the thing. You have to pay for certainty, right? You have to pay a premium for that. It's like, I just want to be certain. It's like, okay, you can get that, but you're going to have to pay a premium. And you heard from other teams how difficult it may have made trading down the price that the 49ers were willing to pay just to move up the, 9 spots right there. It's like, all right, we want to trade down, but we're not getting anything close to what the Dolphins got from the 49ers there. So this is a funny thing that I was, I've got a lot of Bay Area followers and 49er fans. And a lot of them would tell me, they're like, we don't necessarily dislike Mac Jones. You don't trade 2 future first-round picks to trade up to get Mac Jones. You could get him later on. And it turns out that was true. And so I threw this poll out there, Chris.
Yes.
And I go, taping with Sims today. It's kind of like a humble brag. It's like, I know Chris Sims, no big deal. But then the question was, would you rather have Trey Lance was one option, or Mac Jones plus your 2 future first-round picks back?
Yeah.
And as of right now, 1,400 votes in, 60% of the people say rather have Mac Jones plus the 2 future-round picks. So that's not all 49er fans. That's just all my followers out there.
Right.
A lot of the 49er fans are still trying to talk themselves into the fact that, Trey Lance, this is a trade. But you have to factor that in, too. There's a chance you could have waited and gotten a quarterback that's higher on your list without giving up any of those future first-round picks, which indicates to me how desperate they were to move on, how desperate they were for another quarterback.
That's another aspect that's not – it's exactly right. They've given you so many signs this offseason to basically say, we're done with Jimmy G. I mean, we might ride it out this one last year or whatever, but it's over. They've seen enough. They've had enough. And you're right. They moved on and they made an aggressive decision. And like we said back then, it's just Shanahan took control of the draft. And he was not going to have to, if, what, I don't know what's going to happen. But, yes, I mean, hey, the way it shook out, you sit there right now, and it's easy to talk about this, Monday after the draft. He probably could have got Trey Lance or Mac Jones at number 12 with the way everything shook out. But again, we don't know. There's some other circumstances that went on before that and everything like that. So it is interesting, and they're going to be compared. There's no doubt. And, hey, it's going to have scare Shanahan, too, that Mac Jones ended up in New England. I bet you he was probably like, he's going to end up there, damn it. Because he knows it's going to be compared to, and now he knows he's going with Bill.
Yeah.
And it's maybe the best, most complex drop-back pass offense in football. And Shanahan's going to know, wait, I know that guy can go there and do that. So that's going to be scary. And he knows that's going to up the ante as far as how they're compared to.
I was watching it with the quarterbacks. Your I told you so's.
Right.
I was like, your I told you so's are hurt here a little bit. Because if Mac Jones goes and dominates in New England, we'll be like, well, he's got Belichick and he's got this great scheme around him. I don't know that you're going to get the full credit for that. If Justin Fields goes to Chicago and falls on his face, people are going to be like, well, that's Nagy. They can't develop a quarterback over there. You're not going to get full credit for that. And if Kellen Mond goes out there and somehow beats out Kirk Cousins, people are going to go, well, yeah, that's Kirk Cousins. Anyone could do that. I was like, dang it.
I know.
I told you so.
And then Shanahan's going to be like, kill it with Trey Lance, and I'm not going to be able to say anything.
Exactly. He's going to figure out a way. I was like, you're kind of screwed here. Either way, I was like, this is
the
not
thing
good.
that's funny, I think, about the Mac Jones thing is everyone's like, whoa, that system and that offense and up there. And I want to pin some people on TV and go, yeah, but you're the same people that say Brady did the whole system, but now the system's awesome.
Yeah.
It was Brady, but now Brady's gone, and now they got a quarterback, and now it's the system's going to make this quarterback, but it didn't help make Brady. That's where I just laugh. That's where it's like you hear narratives. It's like two different narratives with the same team, and you're like, what? You don't make sense. That doesn't make sense. So is there any more busted narratives on the 49ers?
Yeah, but go. Keep going.
Well, I think that's ultimately where Shanahan got to this conversation. Listen, I talked to him a little bit after the draft, about the quarterbacks and all that. Yeah, there was true love for Mac Jones. There's no doubt about that. As I told you, he was always intrigued by Trey Lance. And I think ultimately what got him into the whole Trey Lance, and I know he said some of this stuff to Peter King on the Football Morning in America and all that type of stuff too. But I think where he's really excited about Trey Lance is, one, he's the best run game designer in football, all right? He's the best run game, let me tie it together with the play-action pass in football. And I think this just gives him more avenues to mess with people that way. I think that's basically the thing that I came away with our conversation that he was really excited about. He's a few receivers are injured? Okay. Well, if I had my Mac Jones offense, that could affect Mac Jones. With Trey Lance, it'll affect him a little bit, but I have this element of the run game that still saves me, right? And I think also, too, and I've heard Kyle say this a lot over the last year, people are just stealing his stuff everywhere, So now this gives him a quarterback and an offense that other teams are not going to be able to emulate, or most of them not. Baltimore Ravens can, right? And maybe a few others. Josh Allen with the Bills, maybe he'll steal some of Shanahan's quarterback run plays. Yeah. But for the most part, now he's going to get to play teams on a week-to-week basis and go, you haven't seen this. You haven't seen this type of attack. You probably put a receiver at quarterback in practice this week and all those type of things. But I think that's where it excites Shanahan, is the fact of the advantages it's going to give him to his running game. It's going to kind of swing the curve back into his favor that way. And, of course, with Lance and his ability to run off of that, he's got a strong arm. I think he thinks he's just going to be able to more consistently mess with defenses and really give them issues with a guy like Lance as compared to maybe the Drew Brees, Mac Jones, Matt Ryan type in the offense.
How good of a runner, though, is Trey Lance?
Yeah.
Do we know? I mean, is he as good as Lamar, Kyler?
No. That's where I have pushed back against that narrative. I think you've heard me say that a little bit. Is, hey, I love the athleticism. I'm not sure how great of a runner Trey Lance is either. Yeah. He's definitely not Lamar Jackson. No way. I think his running is a hair overhyped, I guess is what I'm saying. But, again, good size. He is fast. There's no doubt about that. And I think Shanahan, too, the other thing you learn, and if you listen to Peter, I think Shanahan was blown away by the intangibles to go along with it.
Yeah.
Just everything, whether it's the psych testing, the ability to process information, personality tests, all of those. I think those all like checked out really high, and that's where he's excited about it too. So there he's got a guy he likes. He's wired mentally the way he likes. Physically, he's close to the guy he likes. And then I think when he gets excited about coming up with game plans, it's run game first. You know, that's what's different about Shanahan. Like Josh McDaniels and Sean Payton and Andy Reid would be like, whoa, this guy here and that guy there, and we're going to do this, and I want you to read it 1 to 2 to 3. And they'd be all, Shanahan's more like, I want to get in this formation and motion the wide receiver over here, and now I know they bring the safety down over here, and we're going to pull the guard, and I'm blocked down. And that's what excites Shanahan.
Yeah.
That's what excites him. So now he's got another piece of the puzzle with Lance, too, now, to where he gets to play 10 on 11 football, right? He doesn't have to. He's got one more number in his advantage with his scheme and creativity to go along with that, let alone think about like the Shanahan, the toss sweeps and the outside zone, and teams play him so aggressively for that all the time. And play people in those alleys and do things that way. Oh, okay, yeah, here comes the outside zone or the reverse speed sweep or something like that. Oh, no, sorry, you're wrong. We're pulling Lakeland Tomlinson and Trent Williams, and we're going to run up. You were trying to stop the outside zone, and now we're going to run inside it. And you don't have enough people in here, and now we got all these blockers with a fast quarterback, and you're fucked, for lack of a better way to say it. I think that's what's exciting Shanahan.
But what makes that more dangerous is that you have the threat to beat them with your arm and the passing game too, right? Because some teams may say, all right, we'll load up and stop the run. We'll stop Trey Lance. Beat us with your arm.
Yes.
And can he do that?
Yeah, well, that's going to be the big question, to see what he can do to do that. You know, if it has to come back to dropping back and, like, throwing the ball 30 times a game in the drop-back pass game, I would say no. He's not ready to do that, and he's not going to beat you that way. But I think if Shanahan, which I expect, he's going to find ways to run the ball, and he's going to find a few real easy play-action passes and things like that. It's not going to be on, like, Trey Lance to go through, you know, a 4-read progression. He's going to make life easy on him.
Yeah.
He does have a strong arm, and we do know he's smart. Anybody you talk to will tell you Trey Lance is out of this world smart. So I think that's probably where he looks at it and goes, okay, I'll get him to do that, and we'll work on refining the drop-back pass stuff and everything like that.
And you go to Kyle, I get all that. I still wouldn't have done that.
Well,
I still wouldn't have done that.
I mean, listen, he knows my feelings.
Yes.
He knows. I mean, listen, I put myself out there. I hope that hopefully that's why he appreciates me. I don't just always go, oh, you're right, Kyle, you're right.
Yeah.
I always tell him my thoughts, and this is what scares me and all that. But, yeah, maybe now everybody will believe he doesn't tell me everything.
Yeah.
And not everything I say is directly coming out of his mouth.
Yeah, when 49er fans thought Kyle was taking Mac Jones, they're like, Kyle's an idiot. And now that you're defending Mac Jones, they're like, Kyle's a genius for taking Trey. You're the idiot now. We got to just figure out who's the idiot.
Seriously.
Here. Last thing.
Yes.
And then we'll move on to who won the draft for you and other teams out there. Will he spend a year behind Jimmy Garoppolo?
No.
That's kind of the question.
No, he can't. To me, that's where I will say to Kyle at some point and be like, you got to play this sucker. You just got to get him out there and go. You can't go another year with him not playing football. To me, that's one of the issues with Lance. He's got to play more. He's got to do more, just like you heard me say. He's never done a 2-minute drill. He's never had a game really on his shoulders where you go, if he doesn't throw the ball and drop back and dissect this team today, they're not going to win this college football game. He's never even been in that situation. He's got to just get out there and play. And Shanahan, he's smart. He'll figure it out. He'll figure out how to play with them and do all that. He did it with RG3. He'll do it this time around too. So I don't expect. I'm still saying. I don't know. I'm still saying Jimmy G gets traded at some point this offseason. I still have a hard time. And again, just so I don't know. Yes. Shanahan hasn't told me here. But I just, my thought is.
Where would he go? I don't know where he'd go at this point.
There's a lack of spots right now. There's no doubt about it. I would still look at Houston and go, that could be a possibility with the New England regime down there. Yeah. They just only drafted Davis Mills. If that Watson thing somehow he gets suspended or traded or whatever else, I could see that being a possibility. But yeah,
that doesn't seem
right.
likely. Yeah, it's going to be hard. And to get the price you want, to get enough teams bidding and get the price you want,
that's over.
That seems really unlikely.
It is. And then New England's out of the conversation now, right?
Yeah.
So that's not going to be the case. You can look at Washington, but I don't think Washington's going to get involved in that. I think they're fine with Ryan Fitzpatrick. In fact, I heard somebody on TV say that this weekend, that they're totally fine. They weren't desperate to get a quarterback this weekend.
Len Combs, who starts and wins the game first? Trey Lance in San Francisco or Mac Jones in New England?
Ooh, I'm gonna say Trey Lance, just because of like all the things you've said. Like it just seems like they're done with Jimmy G.
Yeah.
They're done with him. And then, with Mac Jones, I think Cam is gonna be the guy. I do. Again, I still think there's belief in him up there. And then when you talk about, again, as ready as Mac Jones is and everything like that, like I said, that is some system in New England. And it's got a million different rules. It is truly the most advanced drop-back pass system in all of football.
Takes a while.
So it'll take a while. So from all those things, I think those probably just go, you sit back and they're going to teach him aggressively. If Cam does falter or do something like that, then that might push it. But I'm going to go with Lance.
And finally, an apology to Dynasty Guy 2 and others out there as well. He goes, hey, Chris and Ahmed, huge fan of the pod. Why did you guys have to say Mac Jones was going third overall? I lost a bad amount of money.
I'm sorry. I'm Dynasty. I'm sorry. I don't know what. This is the predicament I'm in. Okay, I was wrong this time. I've been right about a whole bunch of other when I didn't know, but I had information and I know people and things like that. Hey, I tried to tell everybody. I wasn't sure. I did not know. I thought I knew, my friend, and that's what I went off of. So I'm sorry. I am. That's where I know I pissed people off. It's the bettors of the world that are mad when I look on social media.
If they send you an invoice, will you pay them, reimburse
Absolutely
them?
not. Absolutely not.
This is for entertainment purposes only. We've made that clear from the get-go. When Chris is talking about my pit stains and all that, that's not.
If Pete sends me an invoice, I'll pay for Pete's. All right. So
okay, Pete, there you go. We'll take you out to dinner. All right, let's move on. Let's put a button on that. I'm sure we'll revisit that many times.
Oh gosh, for 10 years we're going
to see what happens, how it all turns out with all the quarterbacks that went. Now for the 2021 draft recap. Teams who killed it. And I'm looking here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You got 8 teams that killed it.
Yeah.
And what I like following you on Twitter during the draft is awesome, is that even when guys are taken high that you really don't like or don't love, you always find like the positive things about some of these guys. And I respect that. But there's 8 teams that you think killed it even more than the other teams. I'll go through them here, and let's start with the Jets.
Yeah.
Let's start with the Jets, who took Zach Wilson, number 2 overall. Your number 1 player in this draft.
Right.
They got him number 2 overall. Elijah Vera Tucker, also in the first round. A lineman out of USC who you liked a lot. You weren't as high on Elijah Moore, but you were on Michael Carter, the running back out of North Carolina. They got him in the 4th round. So they got a lot of guys. If you're watching on YouTube here, you can see them all. You like their draft. You think they killed it?
I think they killed it. I really do. I mean, even some of the guys towards the later ends of the draft, Nazrul Dean, all those type of players, it was just a well-rounded draft that I think fit their football team and continued a great offseason that they had. They were great in free agency. Here they are in the draft. And I think the thing that I like, of course, hey, the quarterback, I love that. But let's not make the mistake as the old franchise quarterback that we just had here. Let's start to do things the right way. And again, you're going to run the Shanahan running system and those type of plays. Okay, then we got to get an O-line that can do that. Elijah Vera Tucker can play tackle, I do believe, in the NFL, but guard, he's like a slam dunk. I'm going to be able to do everything. And that's what, again, Shanahan, the outside zones, the things where the guards are asked to get to the second level and make these cutoff blocks up there. You got to be athletic and special. So that makes sense. Okay, next thing, let's get back to supporting our quarterback with some weapons. We know they got some receivers and things like that. Elijah Moore is like perfect to go along with what they got. He's a little bit of a hybrid, more of a slot base, but can go outside. But, they got Corey Davis and Denzel Mims, who are going to be more of the outside guys. And now you'll have to worry about Elijah Moore and Crowder on the inside. And this might be his last year there anyways, but just makes too much sense that way. Yeah. And Moore's a good player. can break tackles. I think you could see him be that Deebo Samuel type a little bit for them. Fake the toss. Here he comes around the other way. And then last but not least, of course, is the running back. I mean, he's a Shanahan perfect fit in their system type running back that way. He really is. The only thing that's maybe missing is a little bit more power or anything like that.
Yeah.
But when you just talk about, again, a guy that, let me see a hole, fly through it, go to the second level, he reminded me of Devontae Freeman, who Shanahan killed it with in Atlanta. So I look at that and go, yeah, the Jets were one of the teams that were very impressive in the draft.
You liked him second best. Your second best running back, right?
Yeah, second best running back, definitely.
So here's a question from Kyle Jaspers.
Yeah.
I love what the Jets did in their draft. He's the first Jets fan ever to be happy with their draft. And we found him.
There's some this year that are happy.
A lot this year.
Yeah.
The only thing I question, so here we go.
Yeah.
So the only thing I question is the lack of resources used at corner. I know we got a good receiver at 34, Elijah Moore, but do you think there was a corner on the board at 34 that would have been a better pick? So Pete notes here, the Jags took Tyson Campbell at 33, so just before him.
Right.
Kelvin Joseph was still there, though. Asante Samuel Jr. was still there. Could they have gone corner and shored up that part of their team?
Well, they could have. I like what they did, one, because, again, I err on let's get the second pick of the draft and make sure we make him look like he was the second pick of the draft.
Yes.
So that's where I'm a fan of it. Here's the other thing, too. And, this is where they're a little different as far as the way I think Robert Saleh and company think. Yes, they want corners. We know that. But as you've heard me say before, I don't think it's a scheme that, like, whether I've talked to Shanahan or those type of, they don't, it's a zone, 3-deep zone scheme. Mm-hmm. They don't want to draft corners really in the top 40 picks of the draft. They don't. Because it's just like, wait, you can find a guy that's maybe a little less as far as a man-to-man player, and he still fits the scheme perfectly. Right? So that's where I think that's where they err on that there more than anything. Yes, Kelvin Joseph would have been great. Kevin Joseph for the Cowboys. Yeah, I understand that. But I think this was the right pick. I do. I liked what they did here.
All right, so the Jets, you liked them. You also liked the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Ooh.
So what I'm learning here is that to have a good draft, all you got to do is have one of the first top 2 picks.
I know.
And you can
it
start
really
out with
isn't.
a good draft.
No.
But both these teams did stuff down the board that were good, too. Kristen, do we have the Jaguars draft class here? So here it is. Trevor Lawrence, Travis Etienne was also in the first round, a little higher than you said. You said there were no first-round running backs, but they took the one you thought was the best. Tyson Campbell, their corner in the second round. Walker Little, we don't know what they're going to get out of him, but you said a first-round talent.
He is.
Out of Stanford, the offensive lineman, Andre Cisco, the safety out of Syracuse. Here is Thomas Gatz TV. Did you give Trent Baalke your scouting report directly because he drafted all of your top players?
I mean, it is funny. It really is. Yeah, I'm in love with their draft. I mean, yeah, we know. I mean, I think Trevor's a stud, of course. Etienne, yeah, even though I didn't think he was going to go in the first round, I think I made it very clear that he'd be one of the top picks off on the board in the second round.
Yeah.
And, hey, for what they're going to do there and that offense and everything like that, I mean, it makes sense. Etienne is the perfect college spread NFL-type running back. There's just nothing he can't do. He would be up there already or early runner rookie of the year. I think he's going to get so many touches in the run game and the pass game. But then to get Tyson Campbell, come on, at pick 33, that was amazing. It really was. I mean, Campbell, again, ball skills maybe are the thing that people question. But as I'll say all the time, you can teach a guy to get a little bit better ball skills. You can't teach him, go stick on that guy's hip pocket when he runs everywhere on the field. You don't have to worry about that with Tyson Campbell. He's good. So we have to work on the ball skills. A lot of the other corners that were drafted ahead of him, they're going to have to teach him how to cover the guy and then go, wait, your ball skills are good, but, oh, right, he's wide open. So it didn't really matter. That's where I love the Tyson Campbell pick. And Walker Little, to me, there's just like, yeah, he didn't play last year. And I know he barely played the year before that. He was such a specimen and so good. I feel like it was a very low-risk pick.
Fourth guy you drafted, right? He was their fourth pick.
Yeah, very low risk, I feel like. For that part of the round, hey, it's an ACL injury 2 years ago. and he's just a giant of a specimen of a person. So that's where I love that. And then, of course, Andre Sisco, my favorite safety.
Yeah.
And even Jay Tufele, who was a top 5 interior defensive lineman for me. So, yeah, I thought they really killed it. They addressed a lot of different areas on their team, and I think they got like the perfect pick for all of them.
So Das Batlam says this to you. Why did the Jags take Travis Etienne? Love the guy, my running back 1 as well, but they have James Robinson, who is incredible. I understand the link with Lawrence, but why not go defense? It sucked so bad last year. So their defense was not fun to watch.
No.
For Das Batlam.
No.
So what do you think? I mean, you didn't think he should have gone in the first round?
No.
Etienne.
Yep. I'm not going to kill it, though. First off, they've signed a ton of defensive players in free agency, so they have done that to help out their football team, right? I think the other thing, too, again, is they are looking at their quarterback and going, what can we do to help him out? James Robinson is good. There's no doubt. I think Etienne is a notch better, though. There's no doubt about that.
But you already kind of have someone who's good in that spot.
I think, though, I think it's going to be a little bit about, it shows you the philosophy of their football team a little bit, too. This is where it shows me, again, it's going to be the college spread, where it's going to be, hey, here goes Etienne, run right. Oh, here's a fake Etienne. Here, throw it to DJ Shark. Here's a fake to Etienne. Oh, throw to Etienne. Hey, let's go. No huddle. Keep pacing it. Etienne's tired. He just ran 70 yards the last 3 plays. James Robinson, go in there. Flip it up. Here we go. Set hut. Oh, we're running with James Robinson. I think it's just going to be part of their philosophy. A little bit like when we see Shanahan, where he's always got 3 running backs on his roster, and you're kind of like, well, why does he need 3 running backs? Well, if one gets hurt, or he wants to just keep platooning them, so he's got 1 running back just going in 100 miles per hour every time. I think it's part of the way they're going to play. Let alone, here's the other aspect that I think is going to come into play here, where you could get both of them on the field, and then also Etienne is a really good route runner, to where I think you're going to be able, like Kamara, you're going to be able to sometimes just put him in the slot, and you'll be like, man, I thought they were going to be in 2 backs, but now it's come into like almost a 3 receiver set because he's over here in the slot. Wait, we were in our base defense because we thought they were going to run the ball, and now we're a little bit mismatched. So I think that's the thing they're looking at that way, and Etienne has it all. So yes, was it a glaring need? No, it was not. But I think for the way they want to play, they want insurance for that position, and Etienne's better than Robinson.
Yeah. Everything throughout the course of a football season, every position becomes a need position because of the injuries. It seems like at one point or another. So have the Jets and the Jaguars added enough talent this offseason to not be picking in the top 10 next year?
From base level right now, I would say yes, it looks that way. It just, it's a lot of unproven commodities that need to now do it on the field. I need to see Urban Meyer and Robert Saleh and Mike LaFleur and everybody. I need to see them perform a little bit. I know that there's high expectations, and we think and all of that, but I've definitely been a big fan of both teams and what they've done in free agency and the draft.
So fan of the Jets, fan of the Jaguars. You were also a big fan of the Miami Dolphins, what they did in this draft. Let's take a look. How did they do? Jalen Waddle, their first pick. Jalen Phillips, also in the first round, the edge rusher out of Miami. Liam Eichenberg in the second round, the offensive lineman from Notre Dame I know you like. Javon Holland, the safety from Oregon in the second round. And then Hunter Long, a tight end, in the third round. What'd you like so much about the Dolphins draft?
I mean, they're putting on a clinic on team building. It's the second year in a row.
You think these guys fit with what they want to do?
And they're going to be instant contributors, instant. I mean, maybe Liam Eichenberg might have to be a backup guard or tackle at first. But either way, it's an instant contributor because you don't have to worry about anything there. He's going to fill 2 needs in 1. But I just think of, 1, the trade back to 12, and all the assets they required. Okay, they gave one of those things away to get back up to 6, so they had a receiver they fancied. Yeah, I know he wasn't my favorite. Again, he's top 20 pick. We know that for sure. And I think, hey, obviously they liked him more than me, but where I can get behind is that it makes sense for how they're building their team. You got a Preston Williams, bigger receiver. Devontae Parker, a lankier, skinny receiver like Devontae Smith. We don't need another one.
Yeah.
So we got Gesicki at tight end. Now we got our jitterbug who can do Julian Edelman type stuff with their short routes, yet he's got 3 rockets up his ass to take a reverse like Tyreek Hill 70 yards down the sideline.
Yeah.
So I like that element of it. Jalen Phillips, I mean, come on. What else do I got to say?
Yeah. Medical concerns, right?
Yeah.
But sometimes you got to take a chance.
Right. Well, and who's going to know more about the guy than the team that's in their hometown of where the kid was playing college football, right? So from that standpoint, too, that made me feel better when they took him to go, well, they're going to know. Like, if any team's going to know all the ins and outs of the guy, it's going to be the Dolphins. So if they take him, are you fucking kidding me? He's the best defensive player in the draft. He's the best player. If there's no medical concerns, I would bet you he would have been the top player on everybody's board, other than maybe 5 teams. Like, I'm going to just say, I don't know that. But
Top defensive player?
He would have been top defensive player on everybody's board. If there's the concussions there, I'm going to say at least 24 out of the 32 teams would have had Jalen Phillips as his number 1 player. He's just there's nothing, I don't know how you can turn on the film and not go, he's awesome. So, Holland, a safety, yet like nickel type of hybrid, almost reminds me a little bit of Devin McCourty with the way he runs and the way he's built to a degree. I think he was one of the names I said, during our pre-draft process. But yeah, he's got a great way about him. They needed a little bit of an upgrade at safety. He's going to be involved right away. So that's going to be awesome. I talked about Liam. And then Hunter Long, you already have a Gesicki who's more of the pass catching. Now you got Hunter Long, who's a really awesome run blocker. I mean, maybe the best run blocking tight end in the draft. So you got him, and it's not like he's some slouch and crappy in the pass game. He's pretty good. So I just look at all of that and just go, damn. I mean, between last year's draft, what they did in free agency, and now this draft right here, and they got all these picks in next year's draft too. It's just they're kicking ass.
Got a question from Tom Brady is booty.
Ooh.
So not a fan of Tom Brady, I think. Can the Dolphins, who many regard as having a top 3 draft, including Chris Sims, seriously compete with Buffalo for the AFC East? Their additions could make immediate impact.
Yes.
So it puts them right there with the Bills?
I think it's like,
I mean, they weren't far off this past year.
Exactly right. Player for player, they are right there. There's just one element we need to see, right? And I'm not trying to be a jerk here.
I know.
We just got to see the quarterback take that next step. Okay? I know I'm a Tua hater. I get it. No, but in all seriousness, we just need to see that, right? Not that he has to take over the world and have some Josh Allen breakout type year, but to where we just go, then they can just run an offense. They're not worried about kind of managing him or, let's run the ball because we don't trust it or anything like that. That's the big thing. But player for player, I mean, the Dolphins roster is young, up and coming, and extremely talented and not even close to their potential yet. So that's what's exciting about the Dolphins.
You've put Dolphin fans in a very weird position now because you've been complimentary of their draft, their teams, their new players, their coach, but not their quarterback.
I saw that a lot on social media during the draft where people are like, I hate this guy, but I love his draft takes.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And I'm like, well, you hate me because of what? My last year's draft takes.
So, exactly. So conflicted here. So Dolphins had a good draft. Another team that you think had a good draft was my Detroit Lions. Ladies and gentlemen,
baby,
we've done it. We've done it. Brad Holmes comes. Look at that.
Oh, look at this stud.
Pete was. This is my. So on YouTube right now, if you're just listening, I feel sorry for you because what you can see on YouTube is me looking cool in my Lions draft hat, feeling confident that we got. And I'm going to grade it right now.
Yeah.
An A+ draft.
I like how you looked at me to confirm your looking cool comment. You're like, right? I look cool, right? No, you do look cool.
You're like an
you
old
look like a guy who
or
can
an
maybe
old guy
rap
trying
or
to
have a rhyme.
You're right. It's like I've tried to rap in the past.
Right.
That's a picture of a man who's tried to
Yeah.
rap.
You're like, oh, is that famous early 90s
As
rapper?
I was doing that, I was like, how do I look cool to my wife? And she was like, I don't know, maybe walk by the camera. So that was me walking by the camera. Maybe one of the more embarrassing photos
What I
I've
think
ever
is
taken.
crazy is that is probably exactly how that conversation went down.
It was. I was
know.
like, what do I do? I was like, I look so lame just standing here. Like, just start walking. Maybe that'll be cool.
You're hilarious. I fucking loved it.
Oh, good.
I mean,
Penei Sewell.
Yes, go through it.
At the top there. Anzarike, right? Levi Anzarike, the big defensive tackle, second. Elam McNeil, I think Elam McNeil from North Carolina State, the defensive tackle.
Yeah, one of my faves.
Big corner from Syracuse, Melifonwu.
Yeah.
Like hard names to say for me. I'm going to get to know them more as the time goes on, but you like their draft.
Really everything. Every pick. Amon-Ra St. Brown, if you would have told me what team he was going to end up at, I would have told you the Rams or the Lions. I knew it. He's Cooper Kupp. He's that guy. That's what I kind of said during the draft process. I knew it. Not going to wow you, whoa, he's so fast, but you're going to go, damn, he's a great route runner. He catches everything, and he's got good enough speed. So that was great. But, first off, hey, one, the name of the game is the line of scrimmage, right? And then two, the name of the game is definitely the line of scrimmage when your head coach is Dan Campbell, and all he talks about is biting kneecaps and ankles and eating toes for lunch.
Yeah.
And so I love when the personality of the coach and the roster kind of come together where you're like, whoa, this roster really just speaks the coach. This is him, right? Oh, you got Penei Sewell, the biggest ass kicker in the draft on the offensive line? Great. Yeah. Oh, you got Levi Onwuzurike, the biggest ass kicker on the interior defensive line in the draft? Whoa, great. Oh, wait, the next round you got Alim McNeil, the biggest fucking plugger, mosh pitter, run stopper in the draft. And oh yeah, he's pretty good athlete to go on top of that. Melifonwu was not my favorite cover corner, but he's a very good athlete and has size. They might be able to, they'll find out a role for him, whether it's covering tight ends or being a third safety or something like that. You'd heard me talk about Amon-Ra St. Brown, and then even Derek Barnes in the 4th round. Derek Barnes is a really good middle linebacker to be getting in the 4th round. Pretty good speed, but again, fits the culture to me. He's tough. He's a thumper. He's a Big Ten middle linebacker where he's like, you want to come downhill? I'll meet you there. So I just like when, not that I always have to love the players, but at least the culture of the picks fit the culture of the team. And that's how you build something, in my opinion. So I think that was really cool.
And Penei Sewell had Pizza Hut boxes on his table. And at that point, I'm sure Dan Campbell said, he's one of ours. He's one of ours. He's going to bite kneecaps. He's eating Pizza Hut pizza on draft night. And there was some talk that they could go quarterback, right?
Yes.
It's Jared Goff's probably not the long-term answer. Maybe they'll go quarterback there. They had Justin Fields on the board. But no, they shored up the offensive line. And they're constructing a team. You're right. There's just big dudes up front, right? You think that's going to be how they're going to do it?
That's how they're going to do it. It's what I've said about Dan Campbell a few times. And again, you connect dots, right? Wait, they got Dan Campbell and Anthony Lynn. Dan Campbell just came from the New Orleans Saints, where they believe in big people and dominating the line of scrimmage. And, of course, he played in the Bill Parcells scheme and all of that. And, early in his coaching career was working for Bill. So that's the way he believes in building a team. Anthony Lynn believes that. So it just made too much sense. And, yes, that's what they're going to start the game, Rob. They're going to the first thing they're going to worry about when they get ready for a team on Monday and they start their preparations is going to be, how are we going to dominate up front? What are we going to do to dominate up front? And now they got the pieces to do that.
I have not had that feeling after a Lions draft
in
many years. I was pumped too. So excited that I walked around in my hat to try to look cool while my wife took a picture of me.
And there's another one where, as we got closer to the draft, I don't think anybody really believed they were going to take a quarterback.
Yeah.
Again, I know the thought was out there, right?
Yeah.
But to me, it was a little bit like the Denver thought, where I think they were just one of those teams that was like, yeah, we're going to take a quarterback. Anybody want to trade up to 7 and take a quarterback?
Yeah.
They might as well just said that. I don't know if I ever really believed it.
Yeah.
Unless maybe a Trevor Lawrence fell to them.
Yeah, because if you're not going to draft a quarterback, you might as well say, yeah, these quarterbacks are awesome. We would love to take come up and get them. These guys are great.
Every year now.
No one did. No one did at the Lions spot. They got Penei Sewell, number 7 overall. So you like the Lions. That made me happy. You also like the Giants.
I did.
That makes you and Pete happy.
You know it.
So they crushed it in this draft. So you got 2. First pick was a trade back.
Yeah.
Kadarius Toney. And then another trade back for the edge, Ojulari, right?
Yep.
Azeez Ojulari. See, there are a lot of crazy names in this draft.
There was a lot of crazy names.
One of the more difficult name drafts in recent history. But that was the first time that Dave Gettleman had really traded back in a draft, right? He got a future first-round pick for trading back and taking Kadarius Toney.
Well, I think that's right. That's part of the what we're talking about here. I think when you first have to say that, the fact that they pulled off a first-round pick, to get that for next year's draft, I think that's of course part of one of the reasons I say yes, they won the draft. From anybody that knows anything within the know in the NFL that they had their eyes on Devontae Smith, so. That was how they wanted to build their team. They were looking for that position, so that's great and kind of like knowing your board a little bit. You get a guy like Kadarius Toney, who if you heard Urban Meyer this weekend, they were dying to get him at 25.
True. Yeah.
I mean, Toney is really, if his more polished route running, he's going to be regarded like Jalen Waddle and like a top 12 pick.
Okay, so here's the question.
Yes,
I am really Nash. Are concerns about Kadarius Toney's route running ability overblown or legitimate? I've seen a lot of people say that he's too raw in his route running, but I've seen others say he's one of the better route runners in this class. So what is it?
Yeah, no, it's an overblown conversation. He needs work on his route running, but not to the point where you're like, oh my gosh, it's so bad he'll never be able to get open. No, it's a little bit like you heard me say with like Jamar Chase. Again, it's like the scrambling quarterback. Yeah, he doesn't go through the reads 1, 2, 3, and 4 because 1 and 2 aren't open. He just went, well, I'm going to run. This has always worked for me. Well, like the good receivers, the really explosive ones like Jamar Chase and Kadarius Toney, and sometimes they're just like, well, I don't worry about route running because I always get open. I'm open. I don't know. What else do I need to do? They just told me to get open. So, yes, he needs to work on some of that stuff, but the pure physical specimen is what you should be excited about if you're a Giants fan. Again, it's a weapon is what we're talking about here. We're talking about that Deebo Samuel, Tyreek Hill type where, reverses, speed sweeps are going to be a whole different game now with the ball in his hands. He becomes like a true game-breaking type running back with the ball in his hands. And for like what they're going to ask him to routes he's going to run and things like that, he's not going to be on the outside running like post corners or post corner post. They're not. He's going to be on the inside of the slot, and they're going to go run a shallow cross, 5 yards, go as fast as you can, run a slant. Boom. Hey, we want you to push up to 12 and then cross to the opposite numbers at 25-yard line on a deep crossing route. And they'll bring him along as a route runner, but the ability to do it is all there. I have zero concern.
Here's a concern from Pete.
Yeah.
Is Jason Garrett good enough to put him in position to succeed?
Hey, I'm glad Pete brought this up because to me that's two things that this draft did in their offseason in general. It really puts Daniel Jones and Jason Garrett under the microscope because there's really no wiggle room now. It's like, hey, offensive line's good enough.
Yeah.
That running back healthy. Evan Ingram, Galladay, Darius Slayton, Kadarius Toney, Sterling Shepard. There's a lot of weapons there now. So that's why I think part of the beauty of this, though, too, is they're going to know what Daniel Jones is after this year, officially. They are. And it is going to put also a microscope on Jason Garrett, too, because people are going to be like, hey, there's weapons here. We should be explosive and fun to watch and all of that stuff to go along with it. So that's why that's exciting. Hey, Ojulari, I think, is a perfect fit for what they want to do. I had him going Oweh in the first round. I mean, I always thought they were looking for this type of guy on the edge. Not the most talented pass rusher in the world, but a big physical presence who can drop into coverage in their 3-4-like scheme and can do it all. Aaron Robinson, I love him. I mean, that was a steal to get him out of UCF in round 3. I know I'm not alone in this. He is one of the best pure man-to-man cover corners in this draft. So I'm excited because of those first 3 picks and then getting next year's first-round pick. I think that's why you put the Giants in one of the top tiers.
Yeah, when you look at that first-round pick in the context of, okay, what's the talent level difference between Devontae Smith, who went 1 pick before they were going to go, and Kadarius Toney? How much of a difference is there? And is that difference more or less than a future first-round pick. You know, I mean, that's huge. They get a first-round pick next year from a Chicago Bears team that, who knows, they might not be very good.
Exactly
that
right.
Could be a high pick.
You're exactly right. We don't know what Chicago's going to be. They're definitely one of those teams you just go, man, it can kind of go either way.
Yeah. If you ask me, I think the Bears are going to be terrible. Might be the worst team in the NFL. So the Giants, well done. You get the passing grade from Chris Sims. 3 more teams you think did really well.
Yeah.
And one of those teams is a team in the NFC East with the Giants. You think the Dallas Cowboys kicked it out of the park?
I do, from the standpoint, again, of getting people that are going to help their football team, like right now, and addressing needs that needed to be addressed, like desperately. All right? So let's start off. I was shocked that people were a little like, and I don't know, do you guys, it seemed like people weren't happy that they took Micah Parsons. Were Dallas fans not really happy? It seemed that way.
Yeah, it seemed,
Because
he didn't play last year,
Pete,
right?
you got that, right?
Pete,
didn't you get that sense that people were like, but either way.
It wasn't like one of those like, oh my God, slam dunk, we got this.
No, and I don't know why they should have been. Because, again, I think this was easily one of the 3 or 4 best defensive players on the board. There's no doubt in my mind. And I think a lot of people probably would have viewed him as a top 2 or top 3 defensive guy.
Yeah.
You know, had one character concern, and then there was the opt-out, right? So that was the big issue. They're first off, I think what they're telling you, they're concerned about their middle linebackers, and we know that. They're not giving Vander-Esch the 5th-year option. He had a neck issue coming out of college, and he's had a neck issue the last 2 years in the NFL. So they're concerned. That's the first thing they're drafting Micah Parsons. Hey, Jalen Smith wasn't anything to like write home about last year either. You know, so they got a Jabril Cox in 4th round.
Yeah. That
type of athletic linebacker, 2 guys that fit the way they want to play football. You know, and again, I know I always go back. So here we got Dan Quinn, right? I always like to connect dots. Dan Quinn, Atlanta Falcons. You know, he just got his Deion Jones and his Devondre Campbell, right? Does that make sense? That Jabril Cox is the Devondre Campbell type, that kind of guy. Yeah. Long, athletic, can run around, make tackles, all that. Michael Parsons is better than Deion Jones coming out. I mean, Michael Parsons, you know, this is the Seattle scheme again. They want to get a big-time middle linebacker in that scheme to run. They ask so much of the position in coverage and in stopping the run. You know, it's like, again, I hate to always go back to the well with my sayings, but they got their Bobby Wagner. They got their, you know, the Kenneth Murray. The Chargers drafted the guy from Oklahoma the year before. Same defensive scheme. Deion Jones, Miles Jack, Darius Leonard. Who else am I missing? Oh, the Browns got Owusu Koromoa. Wait, who else? I'm missing some other teams. But they're looking for that type of player. And Parsons, to me, is rare in the fact that he's that big but can move like all those guys we just talked about.
Right.
So I love that. I do.
Pete's saying some of the chatter and the displeasure with the pick was that they wanted to go corner. Some Cowboys fans would rather have gone corner there.
So now let's go. Right. Well, and then this is where you go back into the other conversation a little bit here. Yeah. One, hey, J.C. Horn and Surtain got drafted before, you know, they would have liked. I don't know, so they probably would have gone that. There was no corner that was worthy at 12 to take him there. All right, so there's that. And then what did I say about this defensive scheme and how they value it a little bit? It's the Seattle scheme. It's like I said with the Jets. They're not always, since they know they play so much zone, they don't like to use top 15 and top 20 picks on the corner position.
Right.
They don't like that. It's you know, why? You know, you can have, like, why, like, oh, we got to have Deion Sanders to do the same, like, just to touch a guy and then go backwards? And, like, I got my third. You know, so they're going, well, we can find a lesser guy and then make the other positions that are more important to our scheme and making it work, do that, if that made any sense. But Kelvin Joseph is, he was one of the 5 or 6 best corners in the draft, and he's going to start right away. Yeah. So now you got a corner.
So you did get one.
That's eventually. NFL ready, right. They got one. They got a real good one. In fact, like, I would tell you Kelvin Joseph was better than the 2 that went in the end of the first round. And Stokes and the kid from Northwestern, I like Joseph better, and hands down. And then a guy like Odigizua is going to have some value on their D-line. Chauncey Golston from Iowa. They need help at all these positions. And then you heard me talk about Jabril Cox. I just look at those and just go, wow, that was a really good job by the Cowboys front office.
There are other Cowboy fans that think that they're not necessarily very good at identifying good linebacker talent. Vander-Esch is disappointed. Jalen Smith has disappointed. Hayless Football Talk says, will Micah Parsons and Jabril Cox make Jalen Smith and Leighton Vander-Esch expendable next year?
I think not next year, but I think what you're going to do now is Micah Parsons is going to make Vander-Esch expendable right now. So, like, they're going to be in nickel defense most of the time. Vander-Esch is going to be gone. He's going to be off the field. Micah Parsons is going to play there. You know, listen. I always thought Vander-Esch was overdrafted. Anybody who knows me back from my Bleacher Report days, I was always like, man, that was high. You know, hey, Jalen Smith, they took a flyer in the second round, and a guy who, you know, was a top 5 pick, but had a horrible knee injury. It's been good. It hasn't been great. But yes, I think that's exactly why these guys were drafted. I think that, one, they're worried about Vander-Esch and want to upgrade. Two, like I said, Jalen Smith, it wasn't like, oh my gosh, that was so amazing play last year. It was a little less than at times.
2 other teams, and they're more specifically in addressing specific parts of their teams here. And one is the Chiefs, and you like how they address their offensive line. They got Creed Humphreys, the center out of Oklahoma, and then they got him in round number 2, and they got the guard from Tennessee, Trey Smith, in round number 6.
Yes, I'm sorry. I'm pulling up my teams here.
You're second guessing. You don't think they did well?
No,
there.
they did. They did. Well, the thing where the Tennessee, I think right off. I mean, come on,
Chiefs.
Oh, sorry, I'm talking about the Chiefs. See, I'm all over the place here.
Yeah.
The Chiefs,
the offensive line. Yeah,
yes,
what they did there.
That's the only thing I want to say with the Chiefs.
Yes.
Is the fact that they got Creed Humphrey has ended the greatest transformation of an offensive line that I can ever remember in a 2-month span. To where we went, they can't block anybody, to holy shit, they got the best guard, one of the better tackles, like a top 5 tackle in football, one of the better centers from the draft, and they got some other guys coming back and everything like that, to where I just go, all right, you know, and you know, Kyle Long being there and everything, to where you just go, they went from it being a serious question mark to now it's one of the strengths of their football team. So that's where I'm excited about it, and it's just an unbelievable transformation at one position to make sure, again, that they're one unit, their offensive side, they're going to win games with Mahomes, and they're a pressure they put you on you with their offense, and this allows them to do that, and it makes this unit so great that it's going to affect whoever they're playing's offense and defense and how they want to attack. Because you got to think about, wait, how are we going to handle this offense?
It's almost like after that Super Bowl, they're like, all right, screw that. We're not doing that again. We couldn't protect Patrick Mahomes, a couple injuries that hamstrung us, and you're right, they totally overhauled their whole offensive line.
It's amazing.
Akers Mo says, do you see the Chiefs moving away from a zone blocking scheme based on the strength of playing style of the new offensive line they drafted and traded for?
I would hope there's a little more versatility. I don't know if it's going to stray too much into any new areas, just because that's kind of what Andy does, and that's the kind of offense they run. You know, maybe there'll be more of a threat to run the ball with this kind of specimens you got on the offensive line. But the big thing is now there's no defensive line that they ever have to worry about ever again. There's none. There's not one defensive line in football that they're going to come across with this group and go like, oh, we got to keep the tight end in the block. We got to keep the tight end and the running back in the block. They're going to be like, no, our 5 can take any 4 in football, and now I can get 5 eligibles out, and Mahomes can drop back really deep and have good pass protection. And okay, maybe one guy seeps through, but he's going to be 15 yards away and see the guy seeping through and set him up and make him look like a fool when he runs by him and jukes him. Right. And then he's going to run or throw a laser somewhere. And that's what they want to do. That's where it makes a lot of sense for them.
And finally, the team that you were alluding to.
Sorry.
The Tennessee Titans.
Sorry.
You jumped ahead. That's okay. Their secondary. They got Caleb Farley. You love him, number 1 corner. Has some back issues, but hopefully, you know, those aren't going to crop up in the NFL.
Yeah.
They got him 22nd overall. And then Elijah Molden, the safety out of Washington, in round number 3.
Yeah. You know, I think, again, Caleb, Jalen Phillips, like once you got to that like 18 mark, right, it was like everyone's like, okay, screw the medical stuff.
Yeah.
But yes, you know, one, to get Caleb Farley, phenomenal, right? Elijah Molden, who safety, nickel, whatever you want to be, going to be playing for that team in a hurry, all right? And I think one of the reasons I want to talk about them just a little bit is just like we talked about with the Chiefs, right? Offensive line was an issue. What are we going to do? A major transformation. They got it done. Tennessee Titans, we can't stop anybody from throwing the football. What are we going to do? Oh, we're going to totally rehaul our secondary. Right. And that's where I give them a lot of credit too for these 2 picks. You got 2 guys that are physically ready to contribute to your team right away. But they got Janoris Jenkins in the offseason. They signed Kevin Johnson. So they've transformed one of the biggest issues with their football team in a very short period of time. I think that's what I like about it a lot. They got a tackle at North Dakota State. We know they still want to run the ball and dominate the line of scrimmage. Tackle was a need. Right tackle is an issue for them right now as we sit here. So Taylor Lewan coming back. So I think I like that. And then, come on, man. Get my man Rashad Weaver in the 4th round, which this is what I got to hear. So, I don't know if there's something, unless maybe that's where the NFL valued him, or if there were some medicals that I didn't know about. Because I know, he was in day 3, I was like, what? Rashad Weaver's still here? There's got to be something here with him. As the draft goes or things go, I'm texting with people all around the NFL. Levi Onwuzurike, right? I love him. Yep. I knew around pick 18 that he wasn't going in the 1st round because I was texting with some friends, and they were like, oh, dude, he's got some medicals. I don't think he's going to go tonight. I was like, oh, shit. I don't know what Rashad Weaver is. I'd like to find that out. The other one that I was sitting there on round 4 and 5 is my Javion Hawkins from Louisville, my running back. And, there's issues there. So I don't even know if he got signed as a free agent.
I think he did.
Did he? Did he finally get signed? I thought I looked late yesterday and he wasn't even there anywhere. But he had off-the-field concerns in a major way.
Oh, okay.
So that hurts it. But back to the Titans. Sorry to change it. Yes. So you change your secondary around. You get a Bud Dupree. They got Danico Autry. And now you get a Rashad Weaver, who was one of the better pass rushers of college football last year. I mean, to me, those are, again, just contribute now, needs for the football team, and that's why I like it.
Okay. All right, we're going to do the questionable picks next, but since you brought it up, let me talk about the undrafted free agents here. Trey Melton says, Chris, love the pod. Why do you think that Ardarius Washington went undrafted? So you had him. You got 3 guys in your rankings that went undrafted.
Yes.
You had your number 4 safety. That was Washington. Went to the Ravens.
Right.
Ravens, right? Signed him, Pete. That's what is noted here.
Of course they did. Of course they did.
What do you think happened there?
I don't know. Listen, Wednesday, check back in. I'll try to figure out like I told you. I can dig and find these things out.
Hawkins, the running back.
I know with Hawkins
went to the Falcons.
Good for him. That's a good spot.
And your number 5 tight end, Briley Moore, went to the Titans. Although you didn't think it was a great class of tight ends.
No, it was not a great class of tight ends. Interesting that he went there too. That's a good spot. That's one of the teams I would say can evaluate tight ends. So, but yeah, I don't know. The ones I'm most intrigued by there are, again, I'd like to find out with Weaver, Javion Hawkins, and Ardarius Washington for sure. I mean, listen, I know through the process, people were I had a lot of fun conversations with some friends about Ardarius Washington.
Yeah. So
for him to not get drafted, there's got to be something else there.
Okay.
And what a spot to be. Of course the Ravens got him.
Another shock for me was Owusu Koromoa going that late.
I agree.
He was on the board for a long, long time. And apparently there are some medical issues
there is something there, and I don't know what it is. I don't know the specifics. But, yeah. When your medical issues, little medical issues where I don't think his were, huge, but then you're 215 pounds playing linebacker, and I think some of the NFL community is wait, is he a linebacker or a safety in the box? What exactly is? I think that's what led him to fall there. But wow, I mean, that's amazing that the Browns got him in the 2nd round. Amazing.
So here are the questionable picks.
Yeah.
So these aren't necessarily you're noting him as questionable. They're just the Twitter sphere.
Yeah.
And the analysts will be like, what are you doing there? So the Raiders probably had the first one of the night. Alex Leatherwood, the tackle out of Alabama, who you like.
Yes.
17th overall. DJ K. Ray says Mike Mayock is getting roasted. How bad was the Leatherwood pick?
Leatherwood has first-round traits. He does. So, I mean, I had him going to the Ravens at the end of the first.
Yeah.
Right? There is a need for the football team here. You heard, if you listen to Mike Mayock, I mean, it sounds like Tom Cable was ready to stand on a table and a podium and everything else. He loved Leatherwood. So he was loved within the building. There is a position of need here. I think he right away can step onto their team and be a starting guard and dominant at that. He really has the potential to be a really, really special right tackle. I don't know what happened a little with him in his pass protection this year in Alabama, but obviously it's nothing physically where you're like, well, his feet are bad or he's not strong enough or anything like that. He had this bad habit this year of like locking at his arms and being like, I'm so strong I don't even have to move my legs anymore. And he would stop them for a second. And people kept going around him like to where you were like, what the hell is wrong with this guy this year?
Yeah.
So I think the big thing with there is just, if I was going to be critical is, and we don't know, but was there a trade down opportunity? That's, again, where you just like knowing the board, right, and having a feel.
But if you thought he was good enough to go at the end of the first round, it's not a huge overdraft.
No, it's not a huge overdraft. It's not. But they have a – when you already have a MO for doing that, as in Damon Arnett from last year or Cleveland Ferrell the year before that, there's a microscope on it now. So I think that's what makes it even, pop to people more.
You know what it shows you is how you can set the narrative when you are one of these draft analysts, right? The narrative is set so early by Mike Mayock in years past, right? Mike Mayock, if he's like, wow, this guy is still on the board, people are like, what are teams doing? Teams are idiots out there. They should be drafting this guy.
Right.
Now that Mike Mayock is an actual decision maker in the league, everyone's like, Mike's an idiot. What's he doing taking these guys?
He's getting the other side of
this.
this.
It's like when you have to make the picks, it's just like it puts it in a totally different light. You can't really control the story as well. Mike Mayock's finding that out.
Where was Gruden in the draft room, round one?
Yeah.
Did you notice that he wasn't there?
Something else to do. Yeah, maybe he took the day off.
I just thought that was curious that there's no Gruden in the draft room.
Yeah, last year he was there with a big whiteboard behind him with all their picks, and
they were all like celebrating. And I'm always looking for Gruden, and he wasn't in there. I don't know, maybe he had to take a pee or something.
What about the Saints? End of the first round, questionable. Defensive end Payton Turner out of Houston, 28th overall. Second round, they got a linebacker who you're not enamored with, right? Pete Werner.
No, not exactly. Yeah, I mean the Saints. It's not that I want to sit here and again, I don't want to say any of these are bad. I don't look at it like bad, but Payton Turner at the end of first round, would I rather have an Ojulari or something, or Tryon who were drafted after him? Yeah, there's no doubt about it. I would rather have them. Turner has some traits, again, to like. I think, I don't know, I think I said he was somebody that would go between 40 and 60 when I was doing, my evaluation of that position and everything like that. Mm-hmm. He's got true, get-off. He's a twitchy, pretty explosive athlete. He's stiff as an athlete. He's very upright and straight. And since he's very high cut and high waisted too, he can get knocked off balance and be on the ground a little bit more than you would like for a guy that you take at pick 28. But yeah, I mean, Joe Tryon, Ojulari, Rousseau from Miami, I think all were ones that I probably, if you put a gun to my head, I'd rather have those guys than Payton Turner.
This is a big one here, and I'm curious to get your thoughts on the Buccaneers going with Kyle Trask in round number 2. Still had Kellen Mond on the board, right? Davis Mills still on the board, drafted shortly thereafter. But Kyle Trask going to Tampa. And do we have a picture too? Kristen, do we have a picture of Kyle? Already wearing number 2.
He's in the deuce.
That's not in the rafters. That's an eligible number to be picked.
How dare they don't put that in the rafters? What are they thinking?
This your post NFL career isn't enough to put that on ice. What'd you make of that, Kyle Trask, second round?
I was surprised he was the first guy off the board. Out of the big 5, I was. I don't really see. And again, this is why I don't see Kyle Trask as ever being a starting quarterback in the NFL. I don't see that. That's where I find it curious. Now, obviously, Bruce Arians and company see other things there. But
why don't you?
like not mobile. Like, I mean, people want to talk about Kellen Mond. Mac Jones. Like, I mean, come on. This is a prehistoric dinosaur moving in the pocket compared to Mac Jones.
People are going to want to compare him to Mac Jones because the numbers are kind of. I mean, you look at Kyle Trask's numbers and you're like, wow, this guy's awesome.
Yeah, well, they had a good team, and you know, and when I did the quarterback rankings and all that, anyways, I mean, they found 9 million ways to throw the same route. That's all he ever throws is some form of a fade down the left or right sideline. Are we going to pick for the slot guy? Is the running back going to do it? Are we going to have the receiver run a fake slant and then get there? It's all the same thing, but it's below average arm. It's below average athlete. And yes, he's got good size, but like I said, at times, you know, he throws off his back foot and so much and all of this stuff too. I just want to go, what's the point of being that big if you're not just going to stand in there and deliver the throw with your legs underneath you and all that type of stuff? So I just don't see it. That's all I'm saying. Right. You know my feelings. Yes, I think Kellen Mond blows him out of the water. But they obviously saw it a different way.
While we're talking about Kellen Mond, this one comes from Adam Blackall. It says, do you reckon there's any chance that Mond beats out Cousins this year? P.S. Love the pod. P.P.S. You guys always talk about the UK and London, about visiting there. What about coming to visit Sydney, Australia?
I would love to do that.
Pete, put it on the list.
That's a long flight, though.
Send it to our boss. It'll just be part of the tour.
Yeah.
On the NBC tab, we got it. You know, we're going to do it. We're going to expand this worldwide. We're going to Sydney.
I would love that. It's definitely like a must, like bucket list place I need to go to in my life.
Do you want to spend it with me and Pete there?
No, absolutely not. Okay, Nope. Sorry.
Okay.
Just me and my wife and my family and everything. The hell with you guys.
All right, so what about Mond? Can he beat out Cousins?
Well, no, not this year. Hey, Kirk Cousins is a real good quarterback. Borderline top 10-ish type quarterback. So I don't want to disrespect him. And he's been playing really good football. Mm-hmm. Let's not forget that just because they drafted a quarterback in the round 3. But what he is going to do this year is going to open up eyes in that organization because they're going to go, whoa. Man, okay, stronger arm, quicker release than Kirk Cousins. Whoa, faster than Kirk Cousins. And then fits within the way I think it's a perfect fit, like a system fit again, where, play action, throw the ball down the field with power and accuracy, that's right up his alley. Mm-hmm. And then throwing on the run off the bootlegs and all of those type of things, he's phenomenal on the run. And he knows how to take care of the football and do all those type of things, which is probably why they liked him too. Because there's Mike Zimmer going, well, this guy kind of understands how to manage the game a little bit as well. Mm-hmm. So I don't think this is about this year. But 2 years from now, that could be a conversation. I mean, it's going to depend on how this year goes and everything like that. But as I said to Florio this morning, see, Cousins is, unless you're going deep into the playoffs or Super Bowl, is always going to be one of those guys that people are looking to replace. He is. You know, because there's not that elite trait that everyone goes, oh, wow, it's awesome. And then he does need a little system help, like we've talked about, where, if the play's not there, he can't be like Mahomes or Josh Allen and extend a play and make something happen. Right. That's not his, strength. So this is where Mond will have a little bit of an advantage on him there. And, it'll be interesting. It's a great pick by them, I think, just for the future, knowing he's got 2 years left on his contract, and it gives them options going forward.
And then they're going to call up Kyle Shanahan and be like, we're finally ready to do it. Do you want Kirk Cousins? And he's like, we can't. We're all in on Trey. We can't do it. I'm sorry. It's too late.
Seriously.
You missed your chance. What about Washington? So they had one pick that you might question. They had another pick that you're going to love.
Yeah.
So they had the linebacker, Jamin Davis, out of Kentucky, 19th overall.
Right.
But then they got Dyami Brown in the 3rd round.
Yeah.
So you probably don't like one, you probably love the other.
Right.
If they would have switched those guys, taking Dyami Brown in the 1st round, you'd be like, I love a team.
Fest.
You are high on Dyami Brown.
I am.
And you're not as high on Jamin Davis.
No, I'm not. But, where I won't fault them was the biggest need on their football team was probably middle line. It was middle lineman. Not probably. It was. Mm-hmm. So, for me, is that overdrafting him? Sure. Now, the guy's special athlete. There's no doubt about that. So, I'm not mad at them for taking him there, And I'm again, I think I'm one of the guys that's more in the minority with that. To get Cosmi from Texas, they needed some offensive line help. Him at tackle, I really like that. But, man, Dyami Brown in round 3?
CJ Easterday, does drafting Dyami Brown make Washington one of the most explosive offenses in the NFL?
Definitely. I mean, it's like history repeated itself with Terry McLaurin. And it's what they got here. Now you got Terry McLaurin 2.0 and Dyami Brown, and you got Curtis Samuel to go with Logan Thomas at tight end and Antonio Gibson at running back. Like, yes, that becomes a really explosive day. I was excited with just Curtis Samuel and McLaurin going, that's going to be hard to match up with those two. One-on-one, they are going to be a to deal with. Now you got him to add to the effect with old Ryan Fitzpatrick pulling the trigger. I just hope he doesn't get too aggressive and it's just like, I'm throwing it deep every play. And he throws 7 interceptions. But yes, I you know me. I love that pick. Absolutely.
So one more team that had a pick in the first round that you're not going to love, but picks later on that you might. The Panthers. J.C. Horn. 8th overall.
Yep.
Out of South Carolina. You've on this podcast you've said you're not walking pass interference, which is not a compliment to a defensive back.
Nope.
But they did get Terrace Marshall, the wide receiver, in round 2, and then the tight end from Notre Dame, Tommy Tremble, in round 3. So some good with what you think was a bit of an overdraft.
Some really good. Even the tackle, Brady Christensen from Brigham Young's a good player. But yeah, to get Terrace Marshall at the end of round 2, and now again, just like we were just talking about with Washington, you're like, what? Now you're going to pair him with Robbie Anderson and DJ Moore? Like, holy shit. And they know Terrace Marshall. Joe Brady was at LSU 2 years ago.
That's true.
So he's going to know exactly what he's got. He's going to have a role for him. So that's where I love that. Talked about the O-line. Now you got Tommy Tremble, too. Tommy Tremble, hey, I loved him at the tight end. He's a use check. He could be Kerry Kittle. George Kittle. Any way there. But he's going to be a pain in the ass for personnel matchups. That's the big thing. And then even later in the round, like, hey, Chubba Hubbard, 4th round or end of 4th round, I like that. There's some value to him. He's got some shiftiness and some balance to him that's special. The Davion Nixon kid they took out of Iowa, he's a real athletic interior defensive lineman. Yeah, I don't like J.C. Horn at 8. I know that. I'm definitely in the minority there. Obviously, I get it. But I'll say this, and hopefully I'm wrong for their case or his case. I'm rooting for him. It's not against him. But he fits with everything they've said about defense all along. We want, length, length and speed. And that's, J.C. Horn is a big, long corner. And they want long linebackers and long defensive ends, and that's the way they are going to play football. So it makes sense. Jeremy Chin at safety, you got him. He's long. So there's at least a vision there that I can get behind.
Pete wants to know if any quarterback has had a bigger upgrade this offseason than Sam Darnold. Going from the Jets and the weapons they had to now Carolina and the weapons they have. Pretty good.
It really is. I'm trying to I don't think there is one that's gone from that seismic of a shift, right?
No, Trevor Lawrence goes from college wide receivers to pro wide receivers, so that's a huge upgrade.
But yes, that's a pretty... He's in a spot where he really has a chance to succeed. I think their offensive line, it's not perfect, but I think it's going to be better this year. McCaffrey will be back. And you talk about these receivers. Yeah, the Panthers are like, okay, if we just had to say teams who didn't make the playoffs who are threats to make it the most next year, right? Hey, Miami, definitely, right? I think Carolina is going to be one of those teams I'm going to put a mark next to.
Okay.
Denver is kind of one of those teams I look at to go watch out. Of course, New England.
Yeah.
I want to sit here and even tell you the 49ers watch out. All right? Maybe I'm not as bullish on them. But, man, this is where it's going to be an exciting year.
Detroit Lions? Watch out for them.
Not quite yet.
Well,
2022.
Any team in the NFC East, right? You could just put them in a blender and throw one to the top, and you might be right.
No, you're right. I'm still going to go with Washington, I think, is in the leader house for me as far as that division. But, the Giants will be a pain in the ass for sure. And, yeah, the Dallas, has got some things you look at. But, no, I think the ones that, like Miami, New England, Carolina, the Broncos, the Chargers. I think if you tell me about 4 teams who didn't make it last year that I go, watch out for this year, I think those are the ones I'd jump out.
Last thing on the pod, we're going to do a little Bears Justin Fields talk here.
Okay.
Eberflus won.
Yeah.
How many years of job security does the move up for Justin Fields give Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy? Because you didn't think they'd have license to draft a quarterback.
I wasn't sure if they would, right. That's why I had them kind of falling past there, as I just wasn't sure. I would think this gives them this year, I think it's only going to, it adds one more year to their tenure, for sure. Like, okay, this year, Andy Dalton, blah, blah, blah.
Midway through the year, here comes Justin Fields.
It's as soon as there's an inkling to move in Fields, they're going to do it. They got to do it, But I think it buys them the 2022 season for sure. That's as far as I'll go. I don't know if it definitely buys them 2023.
Yeah.
But where it does is 2022, he plays, and if it just shows any signs of being good or anything, they might just go, let's stick with it and see what 2023 is. So I think it just an extra year is what I'm saying. One
of the comments to us, we were both included on Twitter, was someone trying to crush you for having Fields go 32. But we've seen that in the past where if a quarterback starts falling, there aren't many destinations for him.
Right.
He said Trey Lance, that could have been the danger for him if the 49ers don't take him at 3. I think his comment was, you had him going 32 where every other mock draft had him going top 10. How do you feel now? And I responded with, well, so then Sims is the only one that had him going outside of the top 10. I was like, you called that if every other draft had him going number 3, number 5 overall, number 8 overall. And so he did start to slide. And if the Bears don't take him there, it is really interesting to talk. Well, I wonder where he goes.
Well, that's another thing where again, we can get into that conversation just a little here real quick because I know we want to wrap this up. But, like, you talk about him at 11, and I just want to go, who did they think was going to pick him before 20? That's right. Like, there's no way the Patriots are taking Justin Fields. There's no way. From the information I have, there's no way. So it'd be one of those things, too, where I'd go, maybe Washington, maybe they were worried about them, and that's why they make that move.
Yeah. There's some, Pete saying the Vikings maybe at 14.
Vikings, yep. Florio's been saying he thinks the Vikings were involved there.
Yeah.
I don't know. But that's going to be certainly interesting to watch. Fields, how are they going to incorporate him in that offense, everything like that. We know the fan base is going to be clamoring for him because Andy Dalton's not going to excite them. This is just Justin Fields from Ohio State, a national championship contender, and he's a specimen. So I would think all those things are going to lead the Chicago fan base to even put the pressure on the Bears more to get him out there quickly.
ADM27 says, I agree with your points on Justin Fields, but how could he find it tough to succeed with his throwing while Cam Newton has done well with his subpar throwing?
Yeah, don't just take last year after COVID with Cam Newton. Cam Newton came into the league throwing missiles and bombs everywhere. We were like, holy crap. He played Green Bay and Aaron Rodgers his rookie year. It's the only time ever I've seen Aaron Rodgers after a game sprint over to the other quarterback and go like, that was amazing what you were doing there today. I thought I was the only guy in football that could do that.
Yeah.
You threw like a 60-yard post, like falling backwards for a touchdown. I'm the only guy that's supposed to be able to do that. So there was not an issue. And the whole Cam needs to throw better thing is all from a narrative of when he had a hurt shoulder. And everybody was like, he's throwing like this year. He had a torn labrum. Yeah, he threw like. And then last year, it started off throwing it really good. And then COVID hit. And, of course, it fell apart. So I'm not ready to sit here and tell you Cam Newton's a horrible thrower yet. I'm not. I'm not ready. And I don't think New England is either. And there definitely wasn't those concerns at all with him coming out. Cam, doesn't have a hitch. There's issues with his throwing, no doubt about it. But, again, he doesn't have a hitch in his giddy-up that I know what scared me with Justin Fields and a whole bunch of other teams. So that's the big thing.
Cam can let it go.
Cam can let it go. Really up top here and everything, he doesn't do a lot of wrong things. At times he can get like this and just try to overpower it, and he doesn't get that opposites between the lower and upper half of his body. But he always keeps his arm angle. He doesn't let it wiggle and do crazy stuff like that. So he's got things to work on, I know, but it's not to the level of what we talked about with Fields.
And we end with breaking news.
What?
The Bears have cut their left tackle, Charles Leno.
Ooh, they cut him.
He's been starting there for the last 6 seasons, so they plan to play their second-round pick, Tevin Jenkins from Oklahoma State.
Wow. Okay, that's good. I mean, hey, he's ready physically. There's no doubt about that. That's surprising. I was wondering what they were going to do there with their offensive line and how they were going to orchestrate this. And I just want to look at it real quick, if you don't mind, while we're just sitting here.
Just so people know, this is happening live.
This
is like
this
live
is
reaction.
live news. Because, to me, it's like, okay, it's Whitehead, James Daniel, Jermaine Ifedi. I would think would be the guys they want to keep on the inside. But that makes me think that there might be a different plan here to where maybe Ifedi plays outside and also Jenkins play outside. And now does a Mustapher or somebody else there get to play one of those interior spots that I don't know about? That's the thing that's interesting there to me either way. But, hey, they had to improve their O-line. We know that. They're trying to do that.
More of your questions Wednesday. With
Paul.
Paul will be right here.
on Wednesday. I'm going to get Big Phil. He wants to talk on Wednesday, so we'll have him in the fold.
Good.
And, again, I just want to say great job in the Kentucky Derby, man.
Thanks, man. Yeah.
Your Periwinkle Blue was great.
I think it might have been Periwinkle.
Was it?
No, it was a different name. I got to go look it up.
Okay. All right.
Good
All right,
draft
everybody.
recap.
Hope everybody enjoyed the draft. I'm sorry about misleading everybody with Mac Jones. Promise you, I didn't do it intentionally. Okay, I did not. I like being right.
We'll make it. We'll figure out a way to make it up.
We'll make it right. I'll screw the system somehow to make your money back, and we'll corner the market. All right,
corner
everybody?
the market. Yeah.
But keep the questions coming. I'm still evaluating this draft too, and digesting things and having different thoughts as I go along. Ahmed, you the man. Appreciate it. Send in the questions. Wednesday, we'll be back. Big Burmeister, Sims, peace out. Clap it up. Yo, what's up? Come on, man. Subscribe on YouTube to Chris Sims Unbuttoned Podcast. I need you. Please hit the subscribe button, please.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.